Okay, so today we're going to continue with the short story, The Rights to the Streets of Memphis, and we will cover cause and effect. But first, I would like for you to have a look at the picture on page 113. I want you to know a little background on tenement housing. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many of the thousands of immigrants who came to America lived in tenements, such as the one shown in the painting on this page. Tenement landlords were more concerned with making a profit than with providing comfortable living conditions. As a result, urban tenements were typically run down, dirty, crowded buildings with no electricity, heat, or indoor plumbing. Living conditions gradually improved with the passage of tenement housing laws in the early 1900s. I just wanted you to have a good idea of what tenement housing was. All right, let's go back to page 112. Who can tell me the first cause and effect here? On line 6 through 10, he says, the hunger I'd known before this had been no grim, hostile stranger. It had been a normal hunger that had made me beg constantly for bread. And when I ate a crust or two, I was satisfied. But this new hunger baffled me, scared me, made me angry and insistent. So what's the first cause here? Raise your hands if you know. No one has any idea? Bhumika?
Yes, Pastor.
What do you think the first cause is? What happens first here?
He is hungry.
Yes, Richard gets hungry. Now, the effect that it causes, read lines 11 through 13. I would grow dizzy and my vision would dim. I became less active in my play, and for the first time in my life, I had to pause and think of what was happening to me. So the first cause is Richard is hungry, and this causes him to become less active, and it causes him to start to think, what in the world has happened? Why is he feeling this? Okay. All right, let's go to number 2. What happens next? He keeps complaining to his mother that he's hungry, he's hungry. She tries to make a joke, okay? Because remember, he's a boy. And she at this point, she doesn't treat him like an adult. She treats him as her son. So she tries to get him to take his mind off of the fact that he's hungry and there is no food. Hold on. All right, what happens next? Sorry, guys. Let's see. All right, Hannah, can you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, what happens next?
He after he was hungry and started to be dizzy.
What do we find out after we find out that he's hungry and there's no food and how this hunger is affecting him? What do we discover next?
They discovered that he have no food because of his father.
Yes, his father left the family,
Left.
okay? His father left the family. This caused them to go hungry. Now Miss Wright has to find a job. So what's the next thing?
She told them to wait until she find a job.
But what's the next big thing that happens? She what?
She found the job.
Yeah, she finds a job, okay? So the family is now getting money and Richard goes to buy the groceries. That's number two. Mrs. Wright finds a job. The family is now getting money and Richard gets the groceries. All right, the next thing. What happens next? Adham, can you tell us?
Yes.
Okay, what
When
happens
Richard
next?
goes, when Richard goes to buy groceries, the boys who were waiting in the store saw him and beat him up and took all of his money.
Exactly, okay? Mrs. Wright finds a job, they're getting money. Richard goes to buy the groceries. Richard goes to buy the groceries and a gang of boys beat him up. What happens next? Mihad.
Sent him back. No, he went back to his house and
Yes.
then mom gave him some money and the list.
Exactly. He goes running back to his mother, okay, he runs home. His mom gives him more money and sends him back. All right, what's next? Afad Uta, what happens next?
When he went back to get the groceries again, the boys came
Yes.
and gang on him again and beat him up again.
So when he goes back, the boys beat him up again. Okay. All right, then what happens?
Then he went to his mother, and this time she gave him a stick with the groceries list and the money
Exactly.
for him to defend himself.
Exactly. Okay. He goes back home again, and at that point, she gives him a stick, more money. She sends him back and locks him out of the house. Remember, he heard the key turn in the door. Okay, then what happens? Debolina. Can you hear me, Debolina? Abdullah, can you hear me?
Yes, Mrs.
Okay, so what happens after she gives him more money and the stick and she sends him out again? What happens next? He took the stick and the money, and then what?
So you want me to answer?
I'm sorry.
You want me to answer or someone
Yes.
else? Okay, after his mom gives him a stick, she sends him back and locks him out.
Okay, and what happens?
The boy tries to go back to the store, but he tries to beat him up again, but Richard beats him with the stick.
Yes. At this point, after his mom gives him the money and the stick and locks him out of the house, he then tries to go back to the store to buy the groceries. The boys try to beat him up again, and he then beats them with a stick, okay? And the boys go running home. All right, let's see. Thank you, Abdullah. Hannah Yasser, can you hear me?
Yes.
Then what happens after he beats up the boys?
After the bullies got beaten, they lost face and possibly won't bother him again. They ran away, but their parents came out, and he then told the parents, shouted at adults for the first time, telling them if they came to bully him again, he will beat him again.
Okay, so the last cause and effect, Richard beats up the boys, which gives him a new self-confidence, and he also learned the lesson about standing up for yourself. Any questions on cause and effect? Actually, there should be, I should have had 9 on here. Number 1 should have been when the cause about he's very hungry in the beginning, and the effect was it made him feel frightened and baffled. Okay. Any questions on cause and effect? Okay, so reread lines 39 through 56. What life-changing event does Wright reveal through dialogue? We learn here in this part of the dialogue that his father had left the family, okay? And his mother told him, your father isn't here now. And when he asked her where he is, she said, I don't know. And he kept insisting he was hungry. She said, you'll just have to wait until I get a job and buy food. All right, so we know that his father has abandoned the family. All right, any questions on this page? All right, the next page. Why do you suppose Wright includes such specific details about this experience? Why do you think Wright uses such specific details here? Bamika, can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Lynn.
Okay, why do you think?
I think because he wants everyone to know exactly what he went through. He wants them to understand how hard was it for him to
Exactly.
to stand up for himself.
Exactly.
Uh,
He wants you, the reader, by using vivid details, he wants you, the reader, to be able to understand this better and to actually envision what was happening. Okay. Thank you, Bamik. All right. Any questions on this page? I want you to notice the grammar and the style he uses. If you reread lines 91 through 94, you can see where Richard Wright uses strong verbs like yelled, pleaded, kicked to help you visualize the attack, okay? Why do you think Richard Wright is able to recall these events after all of these years after they occurred? Farah Malib?
Um, because it was a really like a hard portion of his life, and he remembered it because it was actually a turning point for him, because he learned how to stand up for himself and to be stronger from this
Bravo,
experience.
exactly. This was a turning point in his life that really stood out. It was also a time during his life that he learned a very valuable lesson, that you have to stand up for yourself and even use physical force if necessary, okay? Any other questions on that page? All right, the next page. Page 116. He kept telling his mom, they'll beat me, they'll beat me. And she said, you go and do not come back to this house, okay? So what effect did the fighting have on Wright's personality? We already know that in the beginning he was scared, very, very afraid, okay? But he kept going back to his mother, and every time she would send him out again. And the last time she gave him a big stick and money, and she told him to go and don't come back. And she locked him out of the house. So he takes the stick and he takes the note, and he goes out, and when the boys come towards him again shouting, there he is, he does what? He beats them up. And he even shouted at their parents, which he had never done in his entire life, because he was fed up. He had had enough. And he knew at that point in time, he had to stand up for himself. Are there any questions on this page? Excuse me. What do you think the title, The Rights to the Streets of Memphis, means? The rights to the streets of Memphis. What do you think that means? Afid, Uta, what do you think?
That at this time of this period of Memphis, there was a lot of racism and most of thieves and gangs in the street that used to steal money or things. So he stood up for the rights of Memphis.
Exactly. During this point in time, and especially in his neighborhood, where there were many tenement buildings, all these people were very poor. Some were not so clean. They didn't take care of themselves like they should. And there was a lot of thieves, drug dealers, people like that, okay? A lot of hoodlums. They just tried to get money any way they could without holding down a job. So if you did not take up for yourself and you wasn't kind of tough, then people would take advantage of you. So you had to decide for yourself, or he did in his situation. I have just as much right to be on the streets as anyone else in a safe manner. So I'm sure after he beat up this gang of boys, I'm sure the word spread that they better leave him alone because he wasn't someone to mess with. All right, any other comments or questions on the story? Tomorrow we'll have grammar, but on Thursday, we'll go over your vocabulary sheets and other sheets in case you have any questions. The autobiography, we went over the cause and effect. Anyway, have any sheets with you that you need to ask questions about, and we'll discuss that on Thursday. Tomorrow we have grammar. We continue chapter 2. All right, any questions? Krish?
Miss, I had a question.
Yes.
Can we do the can we just take one example of the autobiography sheet on Thursday because I don't understand it.
Can you take one example of what? I'm sorry.
On Thursday.
What do you
Autobiography sheet.
Autobiography? Autobiography. Yeah. Okay, Chris, let me explain it to you real simple. An autobiography is a story written about a person, okay? And the story is written by that person.
Oh.
For example, let's pretend there is a book that came out about a school teacher. After they had taught for, let's say, 25 years, she decides to write a book, okay? Who is this teacher? Ms. Lynn. I have written an autobiography, a story of my life. You see?
Oh, this is about the author.
Right.
Okay.
The author has written the story themselves. You understand now?
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chris. Anyone have any other questions? Sama? Sama, you have a question?
Yes, Miss Lynn. When is the settings of the story or the time?
When is what, baby?
Settings or the time?
Oh, the setting is when? Who knows the setting? Where is the setting? Go back to the very first page. Hold on one second, Selma. Okay. I know the setting is New York, but I'm trying to find the year. I'll have to check for you, Sama.
Okay, Miss Lynn.
It usually tells the year on the first page, but I'm not seeing it for this story. But I'll check for you. I'll make sure that you know it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, babe. Anyone else have any questions? Anna Yasser?
Yes, Miss. Yes, in the autobiography sheet, it says uses believable dialogue. What should we write in there? I don't understand.
Because he writes in a way, the dialogue is as if you and I were having a conversation. Just regular, down-to-earth dialogue. You understand? He doesn't use big fancy words. He uses dialogue and words in his dialogue, just like you and I would use, you see?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Bhumika?
Yeah, Miss Lynn, I have a question. In the story, where does the author use believable dialogue? We have a sheet that is asking where does the author use believable dialogue.
I can't understand you.
In the autobiography sheet,
Yes.
the author, you have asked a question in the techniques. Use believable dialogue. What do we answer exactly?
1 second. Let me pull the sheet up. I don't think it's on this one. I'm looking for the sheet. Oh, yes. Okay, on the autobiography sheet. Number 2, uses believable dialogue. You write down part of the dialogue that is believable in the story. You write down a part of the dialogue that Richard Wright uses in the story that lets you know that it's believable conversation.
But most of the dialogue,
Huh?
most of the story has believable dialogue.
Yes,
So
of course. I don't expect you to write down the entire dialogue. I
just
only
choose the most important.
Yes, choose the one that is most believable to you.
Okay.
Number 3, you understand, Bhumika?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, builds suspense. You also tell how Richard Wright builds suspense. Number 4, how does he develop personalities? Again, you have to go back and read the story again and find this. Find this part where there is suspense. What does he do to build suspense there? Develops personalities. What does he do to develop 1 or 2 of the characters' personalities? You can choose one if you want. I'm sure all of you figured out number 1, describe conflict. There are several conflicts in the story, okay? Any other questions on the autobiography sheet? Let's see what else we have. We did the cause and effect. Okay, your question sheet, your reading check sheet. We've answered many of these during our sessions already. For example, I gave you the page number 112. What cause and effect relationship did Wright begin to recognize? Number 2, you have to reread lines 39 through 56. Who can answer number 3? What was Wright's constant companion during play and sleep? Adham.
Was his constant companion, and it made him angry. And
Speak louder, please.
was his companion during playtime and sleeping, and it made him very angry, and he wanted to eat.
Adham, I can't hear you, man.
Hunger was his companion during playing and during sleeping, which made him very angry, and he wanted to eat, but there was no food.
Okay, so his constant companion was what?
Hunger.
Hunger, correct. His constant companion was hunger. Why does Richard's mother have no food for him? Hannah Hanny?
Yes, Miss.
Why does Richard's mother have no food for him?
Because his father who got them the food and money, but she don't have food or money.
Right, his father abandoned the family. Okay? And then you can answer the rest. There are 20 total, okay? Is there anything else on the sheet that you don't understand what you need to do?
Miss
Yes,
Lynn,
yes.
question number 16 in the reading check. At the beginning of the autobiography, Wright's mother treats him like, what do we need to do exactly? Like,
You need to tell me how does his mother treat him in the beginning? And then question 17, how does she treat him at the end? You have to use your imagination for 17. But you should know number 16. Stop and think at the beginning of the excerpt, how does his mother treat him? And then at the end, how does she treat him? Remember, this is only a part of the autobiography that we have in our book, but it's enough that you should know these answers. You know how she treated him at the beginning, and you have to figure out how you think she treated him at the end. Remember what happened. So as a mother, how do you think she treated him? Hannah Yasser, you have a question?
I was going to ask about number 18.
Wright chose to tell this story from his life because he wanted readers to understand that what? Here you have to do a little research. Read the author's background on the first page. If you can't find the answer there, then you need to do a little research. Wright chose to tell this story from his life because he wanted you to understand what?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Farah, you have a question?
No.
No? Okay. Who else has a question? Afid Magdi?
No, Miss, I don't have a question.
Okay. Sama?
Yes, Miss Lynn. I want
Okay.
to ask you
Wait
when is
one
it?
second. Your question a while ago about the setting, remember?
Yes.
The setting took place in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was during the 1940s.
Okay.
Okay, now you have another question, baby?
Yes. When is the due for our assignments for the story?
To hand them in to me, as long as you have them all completed by Saturday.
Next Saturday?
This next Saturday, yes.
Okay.
Okay, and after this, well, we'll discuss it because I think most of you will be in class. Raise your hand if you are not planning on being in class. I just want to have an idea. Hannah, Emma, Trish. I realize some of you probably still aren't real sure. I just wanted to kind of have an idea. Okay, that's fine. Thanks to everybody. All right, do we have any more questions on your reading check sheet? Okay. All right, I think that will conclude our session for today. We've covered everything about the story. We still need to cover the vocabulary words. Make sure you have your vocab words defined with the part of speech and write a sentence, please, for Thursday, because we'll go over them, okay? Any questions? Let's see. Don't forget to sign in for your attendance. All right, I'll see you in tomorrow's session.